So welcome back to another episode, and today I am Jason Graves, and I'm going to talk about the Sword of Vermilion, Yu Suzuki's black hole. No light escapes. It was a warning. We never should have let this guy make Shenmue, or anything that could make or break an entire company. How does one go from these Sonic quick arcade hits, such as Afterburner, Outrun, and Space Harrier, to this? It's a spectacle game that somehow manages to look like shit. The Sword of Vermilion was made solely to show off in magazine screenshots. And it does a fine job. I mean, look at this. Look how cool this single screen looks. The ad's right. You couldn't do that on Nintendo. Whatever the hell that means. 300 hours? Hell yeah. Imagine seeing these ads begging, circling it in your Sears catalog, saving up money, mowing lawns. Imagine being hyped. And then you get home. What does the game look like? Well, like this. Would you believe me if I told you this game cost $60 at launch? Got him. It was actually $70, the equivalent today of 135 United States dollars. What's your character supposed to be? A defective stormtrooper? Sega could draw a stormtrooper in 1986, but not 3 years later, I guess. You're not the only one who's defective. Look at this guy continuously walking against a fence. The way people speak, it's like nobody passed the second grade. What is this, Tennessee?
It looks like a garbage truck worker convention.
In town, the game looks exactly like Phantasy Star 3. I can't even call this a ripoff. And we all know how much everyone loves Phantasy Star 3. And no, I don't care that Sword of Vermilion came first. Yeah, this is the car part. This is the part where I talk to you when I'm in my car. It sort of grounds me as a human being. I live in this world. I exist, right? So on with the review. This game goes for the old multiple playstyles approach, right? It's got the regular JRPG towns, the Zelda-esque battles, and the boss fights are like the last stage of Ghosts and Goblins. Phantasy Star 2 dropped the first-person dungeon crawling, but Sword of Vermilion picks it up and makes a mockery out of itself. Like many games that attempt to mix entirely different genres together, it ends up feeling like a jack of all trades. Except calling it a jack is probably too nice. It's more like a 5 of clubs. You want to see this done right? Go check out Undertale. If you don't weep tears of pure joy and satisfaction from the Metaton opera scene, then go ahead and close the tab now. It's my Jason Alexander Graves.
It's cringe. Part is very cringe.
Ever.
I like Undertale, but I hate this part.
Anyway, here's every town side by side. They look kind of similar, right? Well, yeah, that's a reoccurring issue. All the towns, every cave, the same. No boss fights or scenarios get their own musical theme or unique environments. Everything is shared. Our entire world is a mosaic of mediocre, generic, unremarkable building blocks stacked high, struggling to give the illusion of a presence. And the same could just as easily be said about the world in Sword of Vermilion. And it's not skin deep either. There's a rigid pattern to these proceedings. The Sword of Vermilion falls into linearity immediately. The entire game can be summed up into these 3 repeating steps. First, you go to a new town. Talk to a few people who will inform you the name of the stupid item that is the solution to all their problems. Second, go to the cave. It's always a fucking cave and there's no other kind of dungeon. Get the item the village needs and then trek your ass back. Lastly, you'll give that item to someone in town, normally the king, and get a map to the next area. Somewhere along the way, you'll occasionally need to fight a boss, but not always. Do these 3 things until the game is over, or more likely until you get bored. Even the enemies are boring. There's 12. That's it, 12. There's no feedback in battle. It's not bump combat, but I'd forgive you if you had thought it was. Your sword isn't quite Lagoon short, but you're not exactly getting any compliment about it either. I know I never do. While I'm talking about the sword, It's not even Vermilion. And no, it never changes color. What were they thinking? This was Yu Suzuki's first console game, and it makes sense. Arcade games were short loops, meant to be straight to the point and simple, to suck up your quarters. That's what Sword of Vermilion is. They made one loop, a couple of wall assets, and repeated them ad nauseum. It's not all bad though. See that cross? It's proof Sega made the real video games, Dad. And like any real video game, it has some cryptic bullshit blocking away progression. Hope you knew about the path in these trees, butt wipe. This game, one song in particular, is the reason why the Sega Genesis had a headphone jack. This queen's pretty hot, right? Well, don't get too excited because she ends up being your mom. Unless you're into that sort of thing. What is this? Tennessee?
So I really don't like Tennessee, man. I can't stress that enough, man. And they losers, they sore losers because they're not Alabama, and I hate Tennessee, man.
That was beautiful, man. Probably the best interview I've done all year. Thank you, man.
Dude, man, I can't stress that enough. I hate them.
You know what? Let's cut the act. I'm a poser. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. And I didn't actually beat this game. I mean, I did, but I didn't do it the way that Mr. Hyundai intended. I used a glitch. If you equip the Dark Sword, it lowers your attack. So if you continuously equip and unequip it, your attack stat goes into the negative, so it rolls back around and you become unstoppable. I know. I'm sure your life is shattered. You thought you understood Sword of Vermilion, and then somebody comes along and they just pulled the rug out from underneath your feet. I looked up maps on Mike's RPG Center too, instead of relying on my own wit. I'm nothing but a phony. Hell, even the cryptic bullshit is fake. This NPC right next to the tree tells you flat out in plain English to go in there. I'm a fraud. I cheat in all my games. I'm a loser.
And I have to go now. My planet needs me.